Breaking now. The Supreme Court has just dropped a ruling that every gun owner in the nation needs to hear immediately, and it's shaking the foundations of firearm laws across the United States. The court's decision removes the requirement for permits to carry guns, a rule that has been in place for decades, and it changes everything you thought you knew about your Second Amendment rights. This is not speculation. This is the law now, and the implications are massive. Millions of gun owners are reacting with shock, relief, and concern all at once, while law enforcement agencies, politicians, and the general public scramble to understand what this decision truly means. The message is clear. Your right to carry may no longer be dependent on permits, but with that freedom comes a new layer of responsibility, awareness, and for many, uncertainty. For years, gun permits have been a cornerstone of public policy when it comes to firearm regulation. The process was intended to ensure that only those deemed responsible and qualified could carry a weapon in public. Background checks, training requirements, and waiting periods were all part of a system designed to balance constitutional rights with public safety. Now, the Supreme Court has ruled that requiring permits for certain types of firearm carry infringes on the constitutional rights guaranteed by the Second Amendment. The justices argued that law-abiding citizens should not be forced to navigate bureaucratic hurdles simply to exercise a fundamental right. This landmark ruling fundamentally challenges decades of regulatory precedent and is likely to reshape the conversation around guns in America for years to come. It's important to note that this ruling does not remove all restrictions on firearms. Gun owners must still comply with laws that prohibit carrying in specific locations such as schools, federal buildings, and certain public spaces. The Supreme Court made it clear that the removal of permit requirements does not mean an absence of legal responsibility. Citizens must still follow other laws governing firearm use, possession, and storage. Legal experts are emphasizing that understanding the nuances of this ruling is crucial. Simply carrying a firearm without a permit is now allowed in certain circumstances, but violations of existing laws can still carry severe consequences. For many gun owners, this decision will feel liberating, but it also raises questions about how to navigate these new freedoms responsibly. The ruling is sending shockwaves through political circles as well. Gun rights advocates are celebrating this as one of the biggest victories in decades. Organizations that have long argued against permit requirements are now empowered to push for further deregulation and to challenge restrictive laws in individual states. Politicians are reacting quickly, with some heralding the decision as a reaffirmation of constitutional freedoms, while others warn of potential increases in gun-related incidents. The timing of this decision is significant, as it comes amidst ongoing national debates about gun safety, rising crime rates in some cities, and concerns about public security. This ruling will undoubtedly become a central topic in political campaigns, influencing voter opinions and shaping legislative priorities. For ordinary citizens, the practical implications are profound. If you have been hesitant to carry a firearm due to permit requirements, your legal landscape has changed dramatically. Now, law-abiding gun owners can carry without going through the traditional bureaucratic steps, which may influence decisions on personal protection, concealed carry, and everyday safety. However, experts caution that state and local laws still apply. While the Supreme Court has set a constitutional precedent, individual jurisdictions may still impose regulations on where and how firearms can be carried. Citizens must remain vigilant and informed, ensuring they comply with remaining laws to avoid unnecessary legal trouble. Law enforcement agencies are also facing new challenges. Officers must now navigate a world in which more citizens may be carrying firearms without permits. This changes how law enforcement interacts with the public and may require new training protocols, risk assessments, and community engagement strategies. While responsible gun owners will exercise their rights safely, police departments must prepare for scenarios where identifying legally armed individuals becomes more complex. This ruling forces law enforcement to adapt quickly to ensure both public safety and respect for constitutional freedoms. Critics of the ruling warn that removing permit requirements could lead to dangerous situations. Without mandatory permits and background checks for certain types of carry, There is concern that firearms could end up in the hands of individuals who are untrained, unstable, or likely to misuse their weapons. Research indicates that stricter regulations can reduce certain types of gun-related incidents, and opponents argue that this ruling may undermine decades of public safety efforts. The debate now centers on whether constitutional rights or safety considerations should take priority in public spaces. Communities, lawmakers, and citizens must grapple with these complex questions in real time. Despite concerns, this ruling is historic. The Supreme Court has reasserted the primacy of constitutional rights in the realm of firearm ownership and carry. It has clarified that while safety measures are important, they cannot infringe on the fundamental freedoms guaranteed by the Second Amendment. This decision will influence legislation, public policy, and legal interpretations for years to come. Gun owners are encouraged to educate themselves on the scope of the ruling, understand local variations in law, and embrace responsible ownership practices. Carrying a firearm without a permit is now legally feasible for many, but it demands heightened responsibility, ethical awareness, and situational intelligence. The societal impact of this ruling will be significant. Debates over gun rights, safety, and constitutional interpretation are likely to intensify. Supporters of gun freedoms view this as a historic reaffirmation of individual rights, while opponents remain concerned about potential increases in accidental shootings, violent incidents, and misuse of firearms. This decision will also affect communities differently based on local culture, crime rates, and existing safety practices. The public discourse surrounding guns is set to become more heated and polarized, with both sides mobilizing to shape perceptions, policies, and community practices. For individual gun owners, this is a moment to reflect and act responsibly. Training programs, safe storage solutions, and education on legal boundaries are more important than ever. Knowing where guns can and cannot be carried, understanding the use of force laws in your jurisdiction, and practicing safety measures in daily life will determine whether this ruling is a net positive or a potential hazard. Responsible gun ownership, ethical decision-making, and public awareness will now define the impact of this Supreme Court decision on a practical level. The ruling also brings implications for firearms sales, training businesses, and shooting ranges. With permit requirements removed, more citizens may feel empowered to purchase firearms, increasing demand for educational programs, safety courses, and secure storage solutions. Businesses in the gun industry may see a surge in customers, but they also carry a responsibility to emphasize safe handling and legal compliance. The Supreme Court's decision indirectly encourages not just gun ownership, but informed and responsible ownership, making education and training a critical priority for new and existing gun owners alike. Political and social analysts agree that this is a transformative moment. The Supreme Court has not merely clarified a legal point, it has reshaped the dialogue surrounding guns in America. Lawmakers, activists, and citizens will have to navigate this new reality with care. Campaigns, policies, and community safety initiatives will be influenced, and the ruling will almost certainly be referenced in future debates, court cases, and legislative proposals. It is a precedent that will echo far beyond the immediate legal implications, shaping the American approach to firearms for generations. In daily life, gun owners will need to adapt to these new freedoms thoughtfully, deciding when and where to carry, understanding risk factors, and prioritizing safety over convenience will determine how this ruling affects communities. Responsible ownership is not optional. It is the foundation for preserving rights while preventing tragedy. This Supreme Court decision may be a landmark victory for constitutional freedoms, but it also underscores that freedom without responsibility can lead to chaos. Education, awareness, and adherence to ethical principles will guide gun owners through this new legal landscape. Ultimately, the Supreme Court's ruling is historic, controversial, and transformative. It sends a clear message: constitutional rights to bear arms are paramount, but exercising those rights requires responsibility, awareness, and informed action. Gun owners must navigate local regulations, law enforcement interactions, and societal expectations carefully. The decision redefines gun ownership, affects political and social conversations, and sets the stage for years of legal, cultural, and practical developments. Whether this ruling is celebrated, debated, or challenged, its impact is undeniable, and every gun owner needs to understand what it means for their rights, safety, and responsibilities immediately. This is a defining moment in American history, a moment that will be discussed, debated, and studied for decades. Gun owners, lawmakers, law enforcement, and citizens alike are all now part of a new chapter in the ongoing story of Second Amendment rights. The Supreme Court has spoken, the rules have changed, and the nation is watching closely as this monumental decision unfolds in real time, reshaping what it means to own, carry, and respect firearms in the United States today and for generations to come.